For over a century, the name has echoed through the fog of London's streets, a shadow cast by a man who never showed his face. We have built an entire library of assumptions around him. We have studied the patterns, mapped the victims, and traced the movements of a predator we thought we knew. But what if the history books have been holding the wrong portrait for 100 years? What if the terror that defined an era was not a man at all? Every investigation, every theory, and every chilling detail we have dissected rests on the foundation of a single assumption: that the killer was male. But that foundation is cracking. We are looking at a century of evidence through a lens that might be completely inverted. Imagine the most notorious monster in criminal history, a figure carved into the collective consciousness, only to discover that the reality was hidden in plain sight, protected by nothing more than our own inability to see past the gender we assigned him. It is time to peel back the layers of a legend that has been misread since the first drop of ink hit the paper. The hunt for the truth starts now. Science does not care about our historical comfort. Modern DNA testing performed on letters long attributed to the killer has yielded results that refuse to align with the Victorian narrative. The markers found on the correspondence point toward a female origin, pulling the rug out from under decades of academic certainty. But the evidence was not just buried in lab reports. It was present on the streets of London while the terror was still unfolding. Police files from the era contained testimony from witnesses who reported seeing a woman near the crime scenes. These accounts were not lost. They were discarded. Investigators at the time possessed a rigid mental framework that blinded them to any suspect who did not fit their narrow profile of a male predator. They heard the reports, they logged the statements, and then they filed them away as irrelevant noise. This was not a failure of evidence, but a failure of imagination. By dismissing the possibility of a female perpetrator, they actively censored the truth. We are now forced to confront the reality that the killer was walking in plain sight, dismissed by the very authorities tasked with the investigation. The bias that protected the killer then is the same bias that has kept the truth obscured for over a century. If the Ripper was a ghost, Mary Pearcey was a terrifying reality. In 1890, the streets of London recoiled as the details of her trial emerged, revealing a murder that mirrored the Ripper's dark signature with agonizing precision. Pearcey did not just kill. She operated with a deliberate, surgical coldness that had previously been attributed only to the Whitechapel phantom. When investigators examined the scene of her crime, the silence in the room was absolute. They recognized the pattern immediately. It was not a coincidence. It was a repetition. The way the wounds were inflicted, the calculated removal of evidence, the calm detachment displayed in the aftermath, it was as if the Ripper had stepped out of the fog and into the light of a courtroom. The authorities, who had spent years searching for a man in the shadows, were suddenly staring at a woman who had mastered his craft. This was not merely a case of historical curiosity. It was a mirror held up to the face of a century-old mystery. As the evidence mounted, the impossibility of the situation began to collapse. The question was no longer whether a woman could commit such acts, but why we had been so desperate to look the other way. The theory of Jill the Ripper moves beyond mere coincidence into the realm of chilling professional access. Consider the midwives and abortionists of the Victorian era. These women possessed an intimate, anatomical precision that was rare in any field at the time. They knew the human body not just from books, but from the blade and the needle. They operated in the shadows of society, often working in rooms where blood and trauma were everyday realities. This level of skill perfectly matches the surgical accuracy observed in the victim's wounds, a detail that baffled investigators who were searching for a butcher rather than a medical professional. The irony is suffocating. By ignoring these women, the authorities were not just failing to find a suspect, they were actively protecting one. Their own gender bias acted as a shield, preventing them from even considering that a woman could hold the knife. They looked for a monster in the alleys, never suspecting that the monster might be the person who brought life into the world. This was a systematic blindness, a refusal to see the truth because it contradicted their rigid, patriarchal view of human capacity. The investigation was not compromised by lack of evidence. It was compromised by the very minds that were meant to solve it. We have spent over a century chasing a phantom, obsessing over the identity of a killer while ignoring the reality sitting right in front of us. Was history hiding in plain sight all along, obscured only by the stubborn expectations of those who wrote the books? Or are we simply desperate for a new kind of villain One that satisfies our modern need for a dark, twisted revision of the past? The evidence of anatomical precision, the ignored witnesses, the chilling parallels in crime, these are not just footnotes. They are cracks in the foundation of a story we thought we understood. If the killer was indeed a woman, then our collective history is not just incomplete, it is a lie built on the bedrock of bias. We are forced to ask if we are actually seeking the truth, or if we are merely projecting our own fears onto a century-old mystery. The shadow of the Ripper remains, but the face behind the mask may be shifting. History is not static. It is a reflection of what we choose to see. Now, the burden of proof shifts to you. Is this a genuine historical correction, or are we chasing ghosts of our own making? Drop a comment with your theory and let us know where you stand on the legend of Jill the Ripper.